So the Pittsburgh Steelers have a player that's kind of been forgotten in the spin cycle of all this talk about what they're going to do at quarterback. And this is just when all the talk about the Steelers quarterback situation is getting hit with the most negativity that we've seen all year. It kind of seems like every single outlet is talking about how this quarterback situation has been insanely mismanaged. This is actually just a tank year to prepare for the 2026 draft class to get a high draft pick. I just saw that shared on ESPN, that theory. But Big Ben Roethlisberger on his podcast, he's actually a big fan of newly drafted quarterback Will Howard out of Ohio State. Just high praise for him on his recent podcast episode. I'm just going to go straight to what he had to say. Even the fact of going with the guy that I thought, which I'm glad they got him late in the 6th round, whatever it was Will Howard, the quarterback. And I think, too, you got to admire Omar Khan's work during the draft. And say what you will about the offseason leading up to it regarding the quarterback position, that's a different conversation. But if you look at what he did during the draft, just a really nice, disciplined approach. He stayed patient. He didn't reach like a few other teams, right? Look at the Browns pulling the trigger on quarterback Dylan Gabriel from Oregon in the 3rd round. Kind of a silly move. That's a huge reach. The Steelers didn't do that. Waiting until the 6th round and still getting Will Howard, a national championship winning quarterback in the 6th round. I really like this choice a lot. So does Big Ben. This is a little more from him. Yeah. Physical, big, strong quarterback. They've been calling him Ben 2.0. I mean, that's no small comparison, especially coming from the original Big Ben. But don't get me wrong, he isn't saying that Will Howard's going to be a plug-and-play prospect, but he's excited about what he could become. And he's shown how he can rise to the occasion throughout his career. I mean, he played most of his career at Kansas State. Then he was brought over to the Buckeyes. Just a huge jump if you look at it on collegiate terms. Going to Ohio State is a huge jump in competition and a much huger spotlight, right? The guy didn't disappoint. And if you kind of look at what you have in Howard, he's got all the tools, right? Great size for the position, really strong arm, also a really tons of poise in the pocket and outside of it. And Howard's size, it's really ideal. 6'4", 236 pounds. No wonder they're comparing him to Big Ben. Really good arm strength. And he actually ran a 4.5 second time at the 40-yard dash. All of this shows that he has the physical traits to be a quality NFL quarterback. An NFL draft expert, Todd McShay, he had this to say. And it's kind of talking about, is the guy a career backup? Or is he a possible starter right now? I mean, he has tons of experience. Let's hear what Todd McShay had to say. I love the Will Howard pick. I just love the Will Howard pick. I love the Will Howard pick. He said it 3 times. Because you know what? And I'm going to keep emphasizing this so people understand. When you're drafting a backup, he's like an administrative assistant to the offensive coordinator and the quarterback. And you want a guy who's going to come in and is ready mentally, is mature, can handle those duties. And when those duties allow, they buy him in practice in preseason to showcase, hey, maybe we got more than just a backup here. So the expectations for Howard, too, they're fairly low. You don't draft a quarterback in the 6th round and expect him to come right into the league and be a starter right away. I mean, I think he's going to begin the season as a backup, most likely. But it just really depends on a few things. I mean, is he going to be right behind the starter if it's Rudolph? Or is he going to be the 3rd quarterback if Aaron Rodgers decides to sign his contract? But the main reason there's optimism here, it isn't his whole year of work at Ohio State. It's what he did when the spotlight was brightest. And also, talking about what Todd McShay said about being an administrative assistant. If you get a chance, watch Ben Gruden's time with Will Howard on his podcast. He really ran him through the paces on the whiteboard, really did rapid fire as far as offensive situations. Will Howard, he gets it. He is a student of the game. He did that. He passed that with flying colors, and John Gruden is really hard on prospects when they're in his film room and when he gives them work on the whiteboard. just really worth it to check it out. I think your opinion of him will greatly rise. So let's kind of talk about this. He performed when the spotlight was brightest, but it wasn't his whole year of work at Ohio State. Some of it was a little marginal, but just an absolutely impressive run of quarterback play in the college football playoff. The way that he led Ohio State to a national championship, it's really impressive, and I think we should take that into account. Because Howard has shown nothing but poise and complete control over the last year or so of his football career. I mean, he went through plenty of adversity during his year at Ohio State, but he led his team through an absolute killing field on his way to the national championship. I mean, he led this team with poise, and he just balled out. And I think he has a makeup and the mentality to be actually a really good starter in this league. And I think he just needs to put it all together when he's given the opportunity. The Steelers are going to give him an opportunity in camp, I believe. But every single time he was called to step up to the plate where the spotlight was the brightest at Ohio State, the guy measured up and he came through. So now let's kind of look at his play at Ohio State during the regular season. It was solid, but really kind of waned a little bit against more talented defense. His production over 4 years at Kansas State prior to this season with the Buckeyes, it didn't suggest that of a superstar quarterback in the future. I'm gonna go to this story. You guys check this out on Steeler Nation. This kind of details Todd McShay's opinion of him, and kind of this is where some of these stats come from as well. So we're looking at a guy that flashed so brightly in big games, and that's what makes me interested to see who he becomes with the Steelers. As far as arm talent, that's not an issue. The guy really excels with the deep ball here. So let's kind of look at this, and this is courtesy of the Pittsburgh Gazette. When Will Howard was called upon to throw more than 20 yards from the line of scrimmage, 57.4% completion rate. That's the absolutely best in college football. I mean, think about that. How does this line up? And once again, this is courtesy of the Pittsburgh Gazette. That's even ahead of quarterbacks taken ahead of him, like Cam Ward, Dylan Gabriel. Enjoy him, Cleveland. I think that was a silly pick. And it's actually Shedeur Sanders. He set college football records, right, with a 70% overall completion percentage. Will Howard's long ball percentage is crazy. It's so much better than even Shedeur Sanders. And then as well, we're comparing him favorably, and actually he's better with the deep ball than guys that ESPN is saying that Pittsburgh is going to tank for so they can get him in 2026. We're talking about Drew Aller. We're talking about Lenora Sellers. We're talking about Cade Klubnik. Klubnik? I don't even know how to pronounce his name, but I'm sorry about that. And he does so well, too, not only throwing the deep ball accurately, but throwing into tight windows. I mean, he actually absolutely wasn't afraid to challenge defenses. And you can almost see it in your mind, him throwing to DK and GP. You can almost see it happening. And but granted, big plays are nice, right? How about setting those plays up? And this is actually where the rubber meets the road. I mean, he excels at pre-snap reads. He's shown that he's very, very good at that. And once again, if you want to be impressed, go to that time spent with John Gruden diagramming plays on the whiteboard. This guy absolutely knows ball. But the weakness that he has, and this is a lot of NFL rookies have this weakness, and that's him being great off the pre-snap, but when defenses switch the look once the ball is snapped, not so great at times. He's a rookie once again. That's where coaching comes in. But this might be the main reason that he dropped to the 6th round, why the Steelers were able to get him there. In college, you can kind of cover it up, right? But in the pros, that proficiency that's needed in recognizing disguised coverages, that's absolutely huge. To have evidence of how that can be overcome, like look no further than your very own Mason Rudolph, right? He had the same knock on him coming out of Oklahoma State. Wasn't a high pick, but he's been coached up and he's overcome that issue. He's had a really nice career, mostly as a backup. Now he might be a starter once again, but what I'm saying is that this deficiency, it can be overcome with experience and good coaching. And that's the part that might hold him back from being an immediate starter for you guys. If Rudolph is the starter and Howard's the backup, Howard would still see a decent amount of snaps in practice. And there's also a low chance that Rudolph will be able to string together 17 consecutive starts without having some type of disaster performance or some type of injury. I mean, there's a real possibility that Howard could actually see NFL starts this year. Just a ton of optimism about him, a ton of optimism that I have about this guy. Big Ben shares that optimism. Let me know if you guys share that optimism as well. Let me know in the comments, and you could really see him start compete for a starting spot in camp from the get-go. It's very, very possible. So you guys, it's been fun covering you guys. Enjoy this offseason. I'll continue to be here on the Daily of Pittsburgh Steelers News. See ya.